Are you wanting to hire an absolute A-player team so you can scale without being stuck in the operation that everything runs like a well-oiled machine? Then pay attention, because I'm going to show you my full training from A to Z, how to select, interview and screen for the right team members and find absolute A-players. I'm going to show you everything. It's going to be a complete guide. So let's dive right into it. Okay, let's dive right into it. Hey, this is Kilian and we're gonna dive into the full A-player hiring system so you can easily source, attract, screen and interview top talent in half the time and build that A-player team so you yourself can get off the operations and focus on scaling your business, your agency, also for e-com brand owners, or if you're coaching consulting business, this is gonna be for you. So again, let's dive into the instructions. Who is this for? So this is for agency owners, e-com founders and founders in general who want to build that A-player team and get out of the operations, focus on scaling your business. So this is for you if you already have a team and you want to make sure you're building a better team and get more A-players into your team, but also if you're just about building your team and make sure you want to do it right from the start. So what are the benefits? So you will know how to find the right people, when you should hire them, where you should hire them, how to go about hiring in general, depending on your revenue. Be able to find and select that high quality talent quickly. Don't attract the wrong people who don't take work off your plate or cause drama. You probably had that in the past. You have people, but they don't really make it easier for you, or they make stuff even worse. And then you can save 17, 20 or more hours every week by optimizing your hiring process and get out of the operations, even if you have a more limited budget. We'll talk about that as well. And then build a team of A players to ensure everything runs smoothly so you can focus on scaling your business, okay? Why should you listen? In the past 5+ years, we have helped over 100 agency founders on their way to scale to 7 and 8 figures. And these are some of these SOPs and processes that all of our clients have used to get results like this. So you can go through some of these results. We have helped agency owners with their hiring when it comes to agency owners that went from just 10K all the way up to 130K. But we're also helping guys with their hiring that do already 300K per month, 500K per month, or some even 8-figure brand owners where we help them with their hiring, their team and their leadership in general. More of these case studies you will find here, and bigger case studies we can send you as well. And this is going to be the full process. So this is going to be a big training. We have first of all the A-player hiring mindset, who are A-players. Then we're going to look into key positions that you need to have and how you can decide who to hire and when. This is very crucial because you need to understand, how do I build my company and who do I hire at what stage, right? In line with company structure and all of that, we're going to get into here. And then once you have decided who I need, then deciding which is the ideal candidate for the position that I'm wanting to hire, and then defining the role. This is what most people don't do properly. You say, hey, you just need a person, but you first need to properly define the role and the outcomes. We have a full scorecard there, and then help you to come up with the scorecard and job description. Then setting up the application form for screening, and then building the complete hiring machine, because then you've built everything, and then we're going to go out, find all the channels where we can hire from. Then we have a full screening and interview process we're going to go into, and then even going into making the offer to the right candidate so you can get started onboarding. Okay, so this is going to be a very long training, but it's going to be super powerful, so you can jump to the sections, and each one of that has a lot of stuff inside as well. So we're going to go into all of them. Just if you see here, this is a very deep one. Everything. This is the only training you'll ever need on hiring, literally, and there's everything in here. So if you want to go ahead and want some of these resources or the whole thing, just comment below or send us a resource, or maybe we'll even have a link where you can just go and opt in and download it. We'll see. Otherwise, just send a comment and we'll send this to you. So let's directly get started. So what are the biggest challenges we're solving with the A-player hiring system? If you feel like you sometimes don't have enough people on the team, or you spend too much time in the operations or other low-yield tasks, we also have a separate training on this, how you can first learn to delegate and get your time back and analyze what tasks you should not be doing. This is another training. We have also a video on. Let us know if you want that. We can also link that. Then if you don't know who to hire and when, what people you need in your business, who you should hire at what stage, don't know what requirements the job needs, when to hire full-time, when part-time, when just a VA. If you ask yourself, can I even afford hiring right now? How much budget do I need? How do I know how much to pay? All these questions. And you then don't know where to find good people. You kind of who to hire, but where do I find the A players? And there's not enough qualified candidates. They don't have enough candidates in general. And then you don't know how to screen and select the candidate, right? You don't know what requirement the job needs. And then you lose out on great candidates that you really want. And that's really bad, right? That have someone identified, but then they don't choose you, or you don't get them on your team. But then you have a team, but you have the wrong person in the wrong seat. So then you have drama in the company, hassle, stress. The owner has to jump in, do everything. You always have to deal with calls, emails, and do the job of people that you mishired and that they don't do their job properly. They always have to be babysitted. You have to do hand holding, and they don't take ownership themselves. You have to explain everything a million times. That's something you don't want, and that the hires are not in line with the company culture, and they're not doing their job properly. And people are leaving too often. You have high turnover employees, and then of course that's a lot of headache and money wasted and time wasted on your side. So all these problems we're going to solve by implementing the A-player hiring system. All right. So to solve this, what is actually super important is understanding the power of who. So once you are at a stage in your business where you have your offer and expert positioning dialed in, this is what we do with our clients as well. We also have a separate video on that. You can find it also on the channel about understanding, okay, what is my exact positioning, my offer. This is also very in-depth training. Once that is dialed in and you have clients, you're profitable, you eliminate unnecessary tasks and automated repetitive ones. All of this is explained in that training here. And you decided with what acquisition channel you want to grow. Then the biggest challenge is not necessarily about what anymore, but who, because then your strategy is clear. And then it's not about having the best processes and system in place anymore, but it's about a killer team of talented people that can run those systems and whole areas of the company for you. That's super important. You can only do so much yourself and work only so much in your zone of genius. You need great people. Quite simple. Now, here are the biggest mistakes that you should avoid. We covered this already in different videos, but I want to just go over it quickly. The first one is not starting hiring early enough, because if you don't hire early enough, you're stuck in this freelancer mindset where you do everything yourself, and you need to shift to a business owner mindset who runs a team and is used to managing people and delegating. Like that's especially for people where you don't have a big team yet. You need to get out of that mindset, because hiring is a skill. You need experience. If you don't have experience with it, we will always be stuck with the wrong people. So you need to get started and get experience so you overcome the fear of making wrong hires. You need to get reps in. It's totally normal to make mistakes like in any area of your business. Okay, you need to learn from it and get experience. We have like specific trainings for people that just want to get started with hiring, and that is basically hiring more specialized freelancers and virtual assistants for your business, as well as an operations assistant and automation freelancer. That's one of the first hires we recommend everybody, because you can very quickly outsource things with those and get hiring experience. If you don't have one of those, focus on this ASAP. You need to get in the habit of getting rid of stuff, outsourcing, delegating, small stuff, so you increase your dollars per hour. That's such a key metric, right? What's your dollar per hour, right? What's your output or your money per hour, right, that you generate? And if you do that small stuff, it's very low. You need to work on the big needle-moving tasks, okay? That's why you need to increase that and do that analysis. We have that inside here, the time around $10,000 per hour tasks, 1,000, 100, $10, 0, and stuff that even costs you money, right? So you want to spend more on the high impact money bringing tasks. All right, so that's the first one. You should start hiring soon, even if it's just assistants and freelancers. Then the second mistake, on the other hand, is that you just build a team of bloated people, of too many people, a bloated team in general. And that means you don't want to, of course, just hire left and right for the sake of hiring and build a bloated team of too many people, because it can kill your profitability, complexity, and time cost of managing too many people, right? That's the other side of the coin. We see that with already bigger businesses. Their margins are very bad. Their team is not as efficient as it could be. They have too many people. They're inefficient, not the right person in the right seat. And then the operations are struggling. And the owner has to help out with everything, and they might make a lot of revenue. We've seen this with some agencies that do 100, 200,000, 300,000 or more, but very inefficient, very bad margins, because it's a very behemoth. That's a lot of people, and it's not very efficient. And so Who to hire. And so this is a cool concept, the hiring based on fixing current or perceived future constraints in your business. We also have a separate training on this. There's also a video available already. You can check that out or let us know if you need it. This is about analyzing constraints in your business. And that way you will understand, okay, is it more about sales? Is it more about marketing right now? Is it more about operations? Where do I need specific help right now? Where's the biggest bottleneck? And it's very important to analyze it with data and go through it and understand where's the biggest bottleneck, the biggest constraint. And then once you understand that, then you will start filling the pipeline with hires so that you can actually make sure that these constraints are solved or a future constraint is removed or anticipated, okay? So the bottom line is you always start hiring with assistant positions, VA, operations assistant, personal assistants, so you can at least delegate some low leverage activities and get experience in the hiring delegation mindset. And then after that, you simply hire depending on solving constraints in your business. You ask yourself, what do you need to improve in your business right now? How are you going to improve it, and who is going to do it? That's pretty much it. That's the approach, what, how, who, and then how you decide who to hire. But we're going to go into more depth in a second. So the third mistake is weak candidate flow, no pipeline, no abundance. So especially when you already have a team, you always need to be ready that team members leave the company, get sick, don't perform well enough, or turn out not to be a good fit after a while. And the growth goals and then you have to get rid of them. And that's a big problem once you realize you need someone. Let's realize suddenly there's a constraint popping up. Someone in your team left or will leave soon suddenly. Or there's a soon anticipated constraint. Someone will tell you, hey, they will have a baby and will work less, or you have a new client incoming soon you didn't anticipate with a lot of workload. And then you realize you don't have enough qualified candidates in the pipeline, right? Or you don't even have a hiring pipeline, or you don't know how to fill the hiring pipeline. This is all stuff you want to avoid, because here's the key. This is a key concept I learned over the last years of hiring myself and helping tons of founders with the hiring. You always want to be looking for talent. You always want to think about, how can I acquire talent? Most founders, they just think about, how can I get more clients, sell more products, get more customers. But you always think about, how can I get more team members? How can I get more A players in my team, more talent? And so you need to have hiring systems in place that make sure that a lack of people will never affect your business. You want to have that hiring abundance, okay? So first thing, you always want to have positions with application forms open and displayed on your website, like a career page. If you go to our career page, I'll show you in a second. There's an example of our career page with some pictures of our clients and our team, and then it shows our values, something about us, shows our benefits, and even shows open positions. So we always have positions open, we always have more positions open, and encourage people also to apply just by themselves. That way, we even have positions open that are currently filled, and we say, hey, we're always expanding. And with that setup, you always get applicants, and that you might not need now, but you can stay in touch, and you're attracting candidates. And then you will have them as a backup. And the key is that you communicate regularly on your social media, that you're always open for great talent as you have plans to grow. And you always have these positions open, communicate this to the team and say, look, we have the position also open, even though you're in the position, but we will make sure that we want to grow and we have backups in place. Once you get sick or anything happens, we need to have backups. And that's important. Everybody knows that, no exceptions. And then you have more hiring abundance coming in, okay? Then you can also duplicate a template where you set this up with a Notion as a career page that you can simply link this to your website and build this very fast. We have a template here. And then the other thing is start building an employer brand. Why should someone work for you? Set yourself apart with benefits of clear mission, values, focus on skill development and growth. You need to set yourself apart, right? Why should someone work for you? Okay, of course, people want money. People want also to develop their skill, want to do something that's in line with their talents, and want to grow. That's usually the key concepts. And constantly be on the lookout for A players that could be good talent. Ask people from your network if they know someone that they think would love to work at your company. Ask friends, clients, team, business network, who are the most talented people that I should hire? Ask that question once you are at conferences and so on. Who is looking for a position? I need more talent. Always have that mindset. And learn the methods in our hiring training below. To set up a hiring funnel allows you to build a quality hiring pipeline fast, because you set this up once and then you're much more at peace knowing you can replace people fast. It's like this abundance mindset, because you can click a button and applications come in, you're running a funnel and ads and so on come in, and you can simply hire someone else again. This is super important. That's why always keep the hiring machine running, run some hiring ads for cold people, that also for people engaged with your socials, and regularly have stories about hiring. Simply have that as part of your content plan every 1-2 weeks, a story that leads to your hiring page. Why join your company? We have open positions. We're constantly growing, constantly hiring. You can run some ads. We show you how to do it. Always get candidates in, and you always have abundance. So that's the key. Build a pipeline, because if you need to get rid of someone or someone leaves, you have a pipeline, right? You have backup. And that's such a key thing here, the dating example, because think about it. When you are in a toxic relationship or you're not with the right partner, you realize, oh, that's actually not a fit for me. If you don't have abundance, if you feel like, oh, I won't be able to find someone else, you will just stick with the person. If you also feel like, oh, it's a lot of hassle to find someone else, it's kind of okay, yeah, it's not the best, but it's okay, then you will just stick with a mediocre or a toxic relationship. While if, hey, I'm a quality person, I'm a great person, I have a lot of things to offer, I know how to find also someone else, then you will not tolerate that stuff and you will find someone else. It's the same in business. If you have, like, you're not happy with the employee, but you're like, oh, and it's going to be a lot of hassle finding someone else, and I don't know, you just tolerate that stuff. Horrible. You don't want to have this. You want to have hiring abundance. You want to learn that skill so you're not dependent on bad performing team members, and that way you can have high A-player standards. Okay. Same thing with elite sports team. Think about it. All those elite sports teams, be it football in Germany is like football, or soccer in the US, or be it any other sports team, every position has another A player as a backup. If we're talking the top teams, right? The top teams, you look at all of their positions, and for every position there's another great person as a backup. And that's like this thing that you want to have, because that way, hey, there's abundance. I could have other people that come in here, and that way you're not tolerating low performance, because you can fire fast and hire fast. Super important for the mindset. And finally, not having A-player standards. So this again goes in line with that, but even if you have candidate flow and hire people, you need to have A-player standards, because here's the key. Before you start hiring, you need to be clear on the expectations and standards you have in your company. And this goes back to having your mission, your vision, your values and expectations clearly documented. We have a complete training in our client training as well on this, how to set up the long-term vision and plan of your company, which is like our long-term goals, where we want to get to with the company, why are we doing what we're doing. Also broken down into the quarterly goals, the goals for the month, and then breaking down, very important, how do we run things at the company? How do we communicate? The expectations, what standards of communication, online, offline, do we expect, right? What behaviors do we expect? What are our values? All of that should be clearly communicated, because that way you create a team, and the team is only as strong as the weakest link, okay? That's why your standard should be create a team and culture of A players that will quickly weed out anyone who made it through your hiring process somehow, but actually isn't an A player, right? Do you understand? So if people made it through, they will still only kind of survive in your culture if they're actually a fit. Because if they aren't, they wouldn't stay long. And this is how it should be, that you have these A player standards. And then you can use those standards to screen in the first place, okay? And this idea is like, it's much better to have a small team of A players than a big team of B players. Less complexity, you have better culture, and people are just happier, and overall everybody's also wealthier. So the key here is to ask yourself and start with yourself first. As a leader, you always need to start with yourself first. Do I set high A player standards for myself? Do I do that? Or do I just expect a lot from others? And then do I hit these high standards? Because if you want to build an A player culture, you need to lead from the front and practice what you preach. Here's a few reflection questions for yourself. So where do I need to increase the standards I have for myself? Just think about the standards you have for yourself, for your habits in your business, but also in your personal life. Where do I need to increase my say-do ratio? It's the idea, where do I need to do more of what I say I do and be true to my word? Where do I actually need to follow through better? And then what do I need to stop tolerating in my business and personal life? From myself, self-talk potentially, or self-sabotage, but also from others. What do I need to stop tolerating? And where do I need to take more ownership and responsibility? Where do I need to take more massive action? Where do I need to show up better as a leader? Think about these areas. Where could my energy be better? Where could I sleep better? My focus, my clarity, my mental sharpness, my stress level. calm in challenging situations, my communication skills, my level of empathy as well, my leadership skills, how I'm coaching my team, how I'm empowering them, how I'm motivating them, how I'm showing up with enthusiasm, how I'm productive myself, how I'm efficiently working on the right things. Am I effective working on the things that move the needle? Am I efficient doing the things right? And do I prioritize correctly? Do I set the right direction for the team? Do I make their life easier? Do you see that? You always need to ask yourself first and have high standards for yourself. Personal life, that reflects into business and business as well. And then you need to be able to lead and hit the high A-player standards that you set for your team. You need to hit them yourself. All right. So this was the first section about the A-player mindset. Because with this, we know what challenge we'll be solving, what mistakes to avoid. And once we avoid those mistakes, then we're on a good path to actually identify A-players and hire them. And so next up, we're going to dive into who are actually A-players. So here's the definition of an A-player. An A-player is someone who has a very high chance, around 90%, of achieving a set of outcomes that only the top 10 of candidates, so the top 10% of candidates, could accomplish. And so this already actually shows that we have to have clarity on the measurable outcome of the role, and more on this in the scorecard section below. So if you don't know exactly what the role should accomplish, what the exact outcomes are, the KPIs, all of that, you cannot have A players. And that's the key learning here. Very often, the big reason why you can't attract A players is because you don't properly communicate what is expected from the position, and therefore you're not repelling candidates who cannot hit this. Because if I have clear high expectation of the outcome of a position, what results should be achieved, what KPIs need to be hit in that position, the more I'm repelling people who are not confident that they can hit this. Okay? And that's why that's so important. So let's focus on the ingredients of A-player hires. First of all is culture and team fit. There's 3 main ingredients. That's the first one. Because you need to find people who fit you and your culture. Because you can have someone who is an A player for one company, but a C player for a different company. And you need to make sure there's a fit for culture, because that's even more important than talent. Talent you can develop, but culture needs to be a culture and attitude fit right from the start. Okay. And so along with culture, the second one is work ethic and attitude. Along with culture, this is most important, because skills can be taught, attitude and culture fit cannot. All right. If someone is just a totally different person, not aligned with the values that you have, you can't do anything about it. But skills you can develop. So keep that in mind. So culture and team fit, work ethic and attitude. This is important. And the key traits you should look for is they should be massive action takers. They should have certain hunger, drive, work ethic, proactivity, ownership, be self-motivated, go the extra mile, have high standards. A lot of these traits here: organization, responsible, reliable, integrity, attention to detail, organized, punctual, professional, right? Then everything around growth focus. They should be resourceful, figure stuff out by themselves, continuously learning and improving. Also show some level of gratitude where they are, a little bit of humility as well. And being a great communicator, honest, transparent, it's easy to get to the point together. They should be mature and professional of communicating. And just a great team player, fun to be around and work with. Have a positive outlook, enthusiastic, just good vibes, have just a good gut feeling, okay? If you have all of these, massive action taking, high standards, growth focused, but also communicating and humble and accepting also feedback, and overall your gut feeling is very good, this is already a great sign for the work ethic and attitude. If 80-90% of these ones are ticked, that's fantastic, okay? Culture fit, of course, in line. You have to define exactly your values, your mission, vision, and all of that to make sure you actually know what your culture is like, and then actually screen for that. And then thirdly, of course, skill set and experience, right? And this is a huge factor, especially the bigger you want to grow and the more the senior the positions are that you want to hire. Because at some point, if you want to scale to the next level, it only makes sense to get people who are very skilled in their position and are smarter than you are in some of these positions, right? And that's why it's key to focus on skill set and screen for experience. One thing you can use here for analyzing that is also asking yourself the 9-box grid, understanding, okay, high potential and high performance. And that way you understand, okay, who would be I players on the 9-box grid. A players there would be those blue people here. Those that have high performance in their job and have high potential for development, or kind of medium here and medium here, but high on the other scale, right? High potentials, high performance, or stars. These would be your A players. Sometimes you can develop also core players up to A players, but this is usually the A players that you have here. Now, what to have in place to attract A players? So the thing is this, hiring A players, there's certain effort required because like these people, they have options. Why should they work with you? Usually you need to differentiate yourself to be able to attract A players, filter them, attract them, and keep them. And so first of all, you need to have high A player standards in place, but then you need, as we discussed, proper company strategy documentation in place. If someone joins your company, they want to know, is this a successful company? Am I going to grow here? Am I going to hit goals? Are we going to grow here? They want to be part of a A-player team. I mean, A players want to be surrounded by winners, by other A players, right? So that's why it's important. You show them, hey, you have clear, ambitious goals. Your product is great. Your service is great. You have a clear direction and path for the company. That should all be documented. Then you have clear measurable outcomes for each position defined that are in line with the company goals. Because otherwise, a player sense that if it's not dialed in, you don't have any KPIs you're tracking. It's like no goals. Like what's going on here? They know that, and they don't work for companies like that. And then thirdly, that's also big, having a certain employer brand, right? That can be your personal brand as the founder, but also the brand of the company, professional experience, dialed in experience, professional appearance, differentiating yourself as an employer. Why should they work for you? Obviously, what we said before. Values and culture match, but also, of course, certain compensation, above average, outstanding compensation should be there. Development plan, skill development, and any other benefits to set yourself apart. Okay, this is what A players are, and this is the first level of how to attract them. Now, the next step is understanding what are key positions in your company, and then how can you now decide who to hire and when. We understand now who are the A players, but how do I know which position I need in my company and when I should hire? So let's dive into that now. So this is what we're going to go through. First of all, before you hire, you need to first of all make sure what can you eliminate, automate, and delegate in your company. Then once you have decided on that, anything that's left, this is where people are hired for. And then you need to decide which position to hire for and for which department. That depends on your organization and team structure. That has to be dialed in first. I see that mistake a lot, that a lot of companies, they just have a broken team structure and then they just hire and almost try to kind of patch some of the holes or fill some of the gaps somehow. But it's the culture and the hierarchy is structurally flawed. It's not dialed in, and that's why you can't do that. Then there's examples for agency businesses, how to get to 100K, what positions you would need depending on your business model. And then once you have a team, how to analyze and evaluate your team and decide, should I replace people or should I hire more people? Then what about business partners? And then more general hiring considerations like remote versus in office, legal, what to pay, and all of that. So we're going to dive deep into that right away. The first one is, again, we said this, before you hire anybody, you do that training. We can link this in this video as well. Because first of all, what you do is you want to eliminate unnecessary tasks. Sometimes you hire while these tasks are not even necessary. And so the biggest thing I can recommend you is that you first of all simplify your offer in line with the irresistible offer. Because maybe you have a service that you actually shouldn't offer and you think you need to hire people for that one, while it's just a distraction anyway. And so you could be more profitable in your company by getting rid of that service or product and not need them at all and just focus on what you're best at. That's why it's really key to start with the foundations. Otherwise, you're building this bloated, inefficient team that's based on the wrong foundations. So the more focused your offering is, the easier it is to streamline and standardize fulfillment, which means you need less people, right? The fewer but more focused service you offer, the more you can specialize and truly make it an outstanding service. And the more it's also specialized, the more can be automated and the less manual work you have. It needs to do everything different for everybody. So that's why it's key you do that training and then decide which services you won't offer anymore and which tasks fall away because of it. This itself is an in-depth training. Then once you understand this and you eliminate it already from the EAD framework, first step, eliminate. The second step then is automate. So anything that you cannot eliminate, but that can be automated, you should automate. So AI tools, Zapier, Make, And you simply hire an automation freelancer. We have a full training on this, who simply you delegate to what tasks you want to have automated. You can just have this person be in your ClickUp or your project management tool, and you just delegate, show Loom videos and show the person, hey, I want this automated, this automated, this automated, and it just works with you on a per hour basis. It's one of the best hires you can make immediately, that you automate stuff without needing this first huge senior hire. You just get a freelancer who builds automations for you. And with these automations, you just can already free up a lot of your hours, a lot of time, okay? And then once you have done this, once you automated these necessary tasks that can be automated, then you decide, okay, which tasks of your business cannot be eliminated or automated and need to be taken over by a person, which is then the delegation step, okay? And so once you understood this, maybe this is back to solving constraints in your business. Maybe what you have left after going through this exercise is, hey, we understand right now, big bottleneck we have is client fulfillment. These tasks, client meetings, client calls can be done. Then one would understand, hey, boom, I would need to hire an account manager, for example, right? And so again, the way to think about it, level 0, always have virtual assistants. I mean, there's actually no reason why you should not have a virtual assistant or any type of assistance, right? It doesn't need to be a freelancer from abroad, but any kind of assistant work that frees up low-level tasks for you. So if you don't have a team, always start hiring assistant positions. Even if you have a team already, adding one or more assistants can be very cost and time effective. Why? Because assistants can help you automate and delegate low-level activities that you can get more hiring and managing experience, and you ingrain the hiring delegation mindset. So first step, we just set this, hire an operations and assistant or automation freelancer, person that sets up automation, workflow, processes, and documentation. Can be someone on a part-time basis, even for the start, no excuses, and they automate Zapier and other tools for you. And you might not have more than 40 hours for them. If not, fine. If you do hire them full-time, full training is here. Then hire a virtual assistant. This is more specialized freelancer. This is for manual work that cannot be automated. If you have any type of task, right, that is difficult to automate right now, like research and data entry, tracking simple metrics, filling out stuff, copy-paste activities, manual tasks, that can be done by someone without much skill or experience just by following a good SOP. If someone like this is necessary, then just to hire a VA that can take over these tasks, like a general assistant for a little bit for everything, especially the low skill type of tasks. And then hire more specialized VAs or freelancers to delegate medium skill and dollar power tasks for more specific type of tasks in your business. So the difference here is these are like these low skill tasks like data entry, tracking and stuff. While this, you could have a simple graphic design or website editor or video editor virtual assistant, or simply you could just call it video editor freelancer. And this person can just work for you on a part-time basis. And actually you free up stuff. You shouldn't play around with your website. You shouldn't edit videos yourself and all that stuff. You just find someone, we have here trainings, on a per hour basis very efficiently, so you can focus on more on stuff that brings in the money instead of doing that. That's a big mistake we see. So when you get started, always hire these positions first. And then thirdly, hire a personal or executive assistant. If you already have a bigger team, this is absolutely recommended. It's kind of your online secretary, can also work for you in an office, of course, if you have an office. And they help you with personal as well as tasks that are a mix of business and personal. Anything, calendar, scheduling appointments, answering emails, housekeeper managing at home. We have trainings on this as well, how to hire a housekeeper. We also have a full PA training already online on YouTube. You can check that, how to hire a PA. Arranging flights, doctor's appointments, researching, buying gifts, all of that, right? So if you have no team yet, then focus rather on getting these assistant positions dialed in, so you just have a little bit more time. That's usually more urgent. And then from there, once you have already a team, then I would go ahead and if you're scaling up business, definitely get a personal and executive assistant. The cool thing is, what we figured out, sometimes if you're not like this jet set lifestyle founder, you probably don't have that many flights that have to be booked or things to be managed. And then it's a bit less on that front, but then you can have an executive assistant who at the same time helps out in the operations. And this are usually great people that are great at organization, very reliable. And we have a full training on that as well. And with that one, you can then have someone in place that helps you on the personal front, frees up a lot of time for these things, but then also make sure that the operations, and you can have more people, you can have someone that you can delegate to much easier. So this will help you free up time and focus for working on the business. Full assistance SOPs are here as well as on YouTube. So once you have this in place, right, you have those first assistants, then you hire based on fixing constraints. We said this before, we have a training here. And so you understand which area of your business needs the biggest focus. If you do this exercise and you understand it's fulfillment, operations, and service delivery, then you hire these operations assistants and automate and streamline operations, can be part-time, or to cut these low leverage tasks. And then depending on the service that you need, you hire the following full-time: customer service rep, media buyer, account manager, for example. This would be an example if this is a bottleneck. Then if marketing and sales is the bottleneck, again, I would hire this ops assistant first, because they automate and streamline marketing and sales tasks for you. Integration, Slack integration, just have this person part-time, autoresponders, setting up email autoresponders for you. This is perfect. This frees up so much of your time. And then you can go ahead and hire a general virtual assistant that is specialized in marketing and lead gen tasks, or someone for more specialized tasks like content, graphic design, video editing. Super key, very low-hanging fruit immediately to free up time. And then depending on your service, depending already on the funnels you're using, you could hire appointment setters full-time, set you more appointments from your funnels, from your leads, and increase dollar efficiency of your marketing spend. And then later, once your calendar is full with sales calls, you hire closers. Okay, that would be an example. But depending on your business model, this can be differentiating. We have a little bit more detail here. And apart from that, the key principles to keep in mind: usually delegate low leverage tasks first and high leverage tasks last. Here we have the training again. The goal is increase your dollar per hour, how much money you generate per hour spent. And most low to medium skill tasks can be outsourced to a VA or freelancers working remotely. Never forget this. So many people, they wait way too long and they think like, oh, I'm going to hire someone full time. It's a senior person with 5 years of experience. And then you expect that person to do all these low skill tasks, which is a waste of their time, while you could just split up the responsibility, have someone like a freelancer or VA take care of some of that and have that other person work more on the high leverage tasks. And so high dollar per hour tasks that you should keep focusing on, especially if you're in a service-based business, but also if you're an e-com founder. Your task should be to make sure revenue is generated. Marketing, depending on the stage of your company, it will be paid media, copy, offer strategy. Content itself, you of course might be doing some content for branding, but mostly the shooting, the editing should be outsourced. Anything related to sales, if it's a service, outbound, setting, closing, at the beginning, you do this still yourself and then step-by-step delegate. And then coaching your marketing team and coaching the sales team. This is for a long time, you still do that. And then anything to product, better documentation, better trainings to make your service or product better. And then strategizing on fulfillment and ops structure. And then the team, making sure that you hire, train, manage A players for all of these areas: ops, fulfillment, sales, and marketing. That's your job, right? As a founder, make sure team is good, product is good, and money is coming in. The bigger you grow, of course, the more you have people in place that take care of any one of those areas, maybe more someone in HR, but you would still be involved making the decision, more someone in product, the development, but you would still approve. And then revenue generating, you can build a sales team and even have sales managers and heads off there and all of that. But these usually are the biggest needle movers that you should focus on. And for delegation, usually as a rule of thumb, delegate in this order. Fulfillment. So it's totally fine that depending on what service you have certain calls, group calls, or anything, but you rather want to delegate client meetings to account managers and client success managers. Operations as well, get this off your plate first before you delegate anything revenue generating, sales and marketing. And this marketing then depends on how good you are at media buying, ads and marketing strategy. If you're really great at that, this might be in your zone of genius, then you keep doing it. And then lastly, usually sales, because this is where the money is made. Unless you absolutely hate sales and you really suck at it, even then it might make sense to get better at it first and then outsource and delegate it. But otherwise, it's better to get a business partner who is good at this, and then you complement each other. More on that in a second on the business partners. So basically, this is how you diagnose this, and this is the order. And the key is focus on full-time hires as much as possible, because the more you hire full-time, the more they are focused solely on you without any other side gigs, and the more buy-in focused performance will be possible for your company. Part-time can be sometimes better than nothing, but full-time is always preferred, almost always, right? So then, once we understood this, this is like how you define which position to hire and for which department. And then we're going to dive now into organization and team structure. So what are the biggest mistakes to avoid with position and team structure? That you have no clarity what skills people should have, then you hire B and C players, no outcomes are defined, leadership positions are handed over too quickly, even though skill and competency is missing, and you give away head-off positions too quickly, where a team lead position might do, and then you pay too much salary, which is not necessary. So this is a lot of stuff that we see are the biggest problems with position and team structure. How do you solve them? Well, you need to get clarity of the goal of your organization. What's the scale, size, and the team? So first of all, it's very important to also ask yourself, what level do you want to scale the company to? If you want to make this a big company, you need to have a different structure in place than if you say like, hey, I just want to scale, make my 20, 30K and live a good life. Then your company structure and the team you need is much smaller than you say you want to build a 500K per month thing, 1 million per month. These are largely different company structures necessary. And then once you understand that, you need to know, okay, what structure would I need? How many people would I need to achieve that goal? And then what you do is you create an org chart. Now, how it's looking now, I'll show you in a second how the template could look like. We have a template. And then you talk about how it will look like in the future. So how is my team and my company looking now? Super important to do that. And then map out where you want to go in the future. And then once you have that, you create a hiring roadmap with timeframes. So that means, okay, I need to fix that area first, and in these next months, I will hire this person, okay? So here's an example of this. Let's get into it. So we have a template here that you can use where you have an example of an agency where you could say like, hey, look, this is our sales here, our sales department, this is our client fulfillment department, and this is potentially our marketing department, and this is like executive assistant and operations here. And so then you could say like, okay, this is how it's looking now, and then you duplicate this, and then you make a copy and fill this out how you want this to look like for you to get to 100K, to 150K. You can also start here, have a template, map it out like this. We have more templates here that you can use, how it should look like and how it's looking now. So you create two ones, right? One how it's now, and then one how would be an ideal position, an ideal setup. And then what you do is you basically have a hiring traffic light plan. This is a super cool tool I've seen other founders use as well. And so that way you understand, okay, so what roles are missing? How should the departments look like? Then you map out the departments now, as I showed you here, and how they would look like in the future. And map out, if you had to draw the company from scratch, right? And you make an ideal company structure, how would you do it? And then you map out the positions, and you can link also the names of the position and the scorecards in there. And then you do a traffic light hiring plan, and it's super cool. Then you say like, okay, red is what I need to hire very soon, it's very urgent, this is in the next 3 to 6 months, and this is in the next 6 months. And then you can just go there and see and mark this. For example, say, we very urgent need an executive assistant, then from there we need more media buyers, and then from there we need more setters, right? And then you have like an overview, and you can highlight this and say like, okay, this is my hiring plan, we'll hire this first, takes us 1-2 months maybe, and then this, right? And that way you can strategically build your structure, and you have a much better overview of what's happening in your company, okay? So very important that you have the roles, the responsibilities, and relationships between employees in there. And then here's some more best practice, of course. You have an overview of the departments. Then depending on how big your company is, you have different hierarchies. If it's a bigger company already, you want to have C-level, then you have head of, team leads, and then potentially senior or junior levels. But it might be that your company doesn't even have that many levels, just has 1, 2, or 3 levels. But the key is more like it reflects their level of responsibility, okay? And then you have a name, and optionally you can link the scorecard and the role description in there, that you have everything easily visible, okay? Usually you create those titles and hierarchies depending on the skill level, experience, and leadership skill required for the role. So why is that important? Because again, like we said, this is how you avoid that you don't have clarity what skills they need to have. You need to make sure the responsibilities are clear, KPIs are clear, and you avoid overstaffed teams, okay? That way you have clarity on the business structure, you have a clear team structure that scales, and you have a clear hiring order, including a schedule. And the cool thing is, once you have clarity on that, you can almost duplicate whole departments and then understand, hey, if I need more in the fulfillment, I duplicate the sub-department. And if I need more setting, I just duplicate that setting team. And that way you can strategically move that forward, okay? Then must-dos for team structure. This is a super cool concept. You've probably heard this. I've learned this myself from some founders who do that very well with their teams. And so the idea is the Amazon 2 pizza rule: the smaller the team, the better the collaboration. The more people, the more communication channels, the more clarification is needed. So that's how I understand this. The more members you have, the more links and the more chaos ensues. The less team members you have, the less communication between each of them is necessary. So the idea is build high-performing teams of maximum 5 to 7 people. So that way you understand, hey, they communicate more efficiently with each other. And so it's the idea that two pizzas should feed the whole team, right? That's why you don't have too many people. Otherwise, 2 pizzas are not enough. And so then the repetition mindset and flexibility, understand that the structure you set at the beginning is not set in stone and that you will restructure a lot. And as we said, we can duplicate projects. If you need more output, then you just duplicate the team and the sub-team. Align responsibilities with skills. So that's important, that if you have in the past, like what we have seen is that if you have someone in a position where they need to have certain skills, but they don't understand the requirements, then chaos ensues. So for example, if you hire a general project manager, but they don't understand how to get results for the client, and they don't understand, for example, how to get leads, and that's what the client wants, and they're just there to talk to them a bit, then chaos can ensue, right? So that's why rather find someone that has also a skill in line with the responsibilities and don't split the roles too quickly, okay? And that the heads and the skills are matching. Then build an ecosystem where you basically get to a level where it's stable, where the company is running smoothly. Don't be dependent on a single person for success. As we said, hiring abundance pipeline, distribute success across 2 teams or 2 team members, so you don't not dependent on any one person. And don't just outsource operations, but also empower this ownership. And so the idea here is that always waiting for you to make any sort of decision, and you just have button clickers in your company and they don't think for themselves, then it will slow down everything. So you want to empower the team and the leadership to also be able to make decisions for themselves. Very important. And then find a working team structure for each department that can be then replicated once you scale. So these are the key things to do for team structure. The key is to get clear on this first, and then from there you can then replicate and improve over time. All right. Now here's a few examples of agency businesses. So that depends, of course, what your offer is. That's why your offer and what service you offer depends a lot. A very simple example is if you have a local lead gen business, because that way you say, hey, I run ads for clinics, and then running ads to bring them more customers is a very straightforward process, because it's way simpler than, let's say, you're an e-com agency who offers all types of stuff, who paid for different channels, but also you do creative, you CRO, landing page design, you do all copywriting, you do everything for them. Then you have a lot of different people necessary than if you just say, hey, we run ads and bring local business more customers. So it depends a bit on your offer, and that's why what I said is key, that you streamline this first. But overall, let's say you have this local lead gen agency, you have the CEO who focus on these areas that we covered before. Then you have 1 to 2 general VAs, personal assistant for general admin tasks, maybe 1 to 2 operations assistant for onboarding setup. They do the operations, campaign setup, management, automations. You have maybe 1 to 2 lead gen assistants that help you with actually getting more clients. Depending on the funnel, you might need more or less. Cold email or helping with paid ads, helping with outreach on LinkedIn, IG DMs. Then you have maybe 1 to 2 account managers, depending on how many clients you will take, depending on your service packages, that do onboarding, client communication calls, check-ins, and maybe you have another 1 to 2 sales managers that help with appointment setting, closing, and that's split up between appointment setters and closers. Okay, and then from there, the more sophisticated your delivery, the more do you want to get out of the ops yourself. You might have another operations manager that manages the team, like a head of operations, or a marketing manager that helps the clients as well as helps internally to get more clients, make the ads work better, and strong marketing, paid ad skills, campaign strategy optimization. And then additionally, you could have video editors, graphic designers, and copywriters, even just on a part-time basis. So with that set up, depending on that, you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then maybe 6, 7, 8, and depending a little bit more, 7 to 10 people. And with that set up, you can scale that quite a bit for sure. And then the more complicated your offer and services, the more people you need, obviously. Okay, so that's like an example setup. And then what you should do now is, as you move forward, is analyze and evaluate your team. So first of all, you need to make sure you have a clear overview who is responsible for what in your business. As we showed before, you need a clearly mapped out accountability, or at least org chart. Who is responsible for what? Who does what in your company? And then we have a separate training on this. We have also a video on this already. We can link that as well. Is our people analyzer tool, where you ensure you have the right people in the right seat. And so the idea here is you want to select for values and culture match the right people, and then make sure they get it, want and have the capacity to do it for the right role. More on how to analyze those with this very super good framework in that training here. Okay. And then additionally, you can use the 9-box grid to analyze your team in terms of performance and potential. We showed this before, okay? And then from there this is a super cool tool I learned. With the help of your leadership team, department heads, you're gonna go ahead and you talk to your department heads and have them each anonymously send you the top 3 culture fits from the team. You can do this with an anonymous list, Google Doc, and once they send them, you have them send you the 3 bottom culture fits. And then you understand, okay, who are the top people in my company and who are the bottom people? And because based on what the team leaders say, right? And then if someone pops up too often, then you need to understand, okay, what's happening here? Ask why, and consider replace that person, because obviously everybody in the team says that this person is not a fit. And then this is also an interesting one. If you have a smaller team, more than just a few people, or rather, if you have a bigger team, sorry, that's a mistake. If you already have a bigger team, more than just a few people, then you classify either one as A, B, C, D, E, F player, and you can just go ahead and get rid of everyone that's not an A or B player. That's, of course, a very generalistic approach here. I get it. But the understanding is if you really say, hey, this person is an E player, this person is not at all communicating, then deep down that this person shouldn't be in the company. Okay? So this will give you clarity if you need people, new people, or if you need to replace someone, or first need to change the structure of your company. That's very important. First of all, make sure company structure is in place. Then work with the people you already have that are a good fit and put them in the right seats. And then from there, understand, okay, these roles are missing. These are the people I need to hire newly or replace. Okay. Then finally, what about business partners? So if you already have business partners, so business partners is very interesting, because if you already have a business partner, you need to make sure they're complementing each other. So usually there are 2 types of founders. You have the visionary, who's more detail oriented, has big picture ideas, sees the future. And then you have the integrator, who's the person who's more structured, takes care of the details, implements things, manages day-to-day stuff. And so the visionary thinks where to go, the integrator figures out how to get there. When they work together, because the visionary is more like a dreamer who needs someone to handle the details and make sure actually things get done. And it's very interesting to understand this on a personality level. Usually visionaries are more on the yellow, orange, reddish side, while integrators are mostly red, blue, purple down here. More like the visionaries are more like here on that spectrum, while integrators are more like down on that right side here. They can have some red, but mostly blue, maybe a little bit of green, while these have more yellow, orange, and red. And that's the difference. The visionaries are more on that creative front, while the integrators are more structured, attention to detail. Okay? And so visionaries are usually best at sales and marketing. Integrators are better at operations and service delivery. So that's key, that if you have a business partner, you need to make sure that everyone focuses on their zone of genius and takes over the corresponding department of the business. If you're not complementing each other, then you need to hire for the missing type. That has absolute priority, because if you're both more creative and less structured and you're missing this blue personality, if both of you are more here and you're missing the structure side of things, then you need to immediately hire someone that's more structured, a COO or head of operations, or you need to switch business partners. But that's going to not work long term if you have no structure, no one is detail oriented in your company, or you're all just big picture thinkers and creative people. And so this is how you analyze this if you already have a partner. And if you have no business partner right now, then generally it's not necessary to have a business partner if you're just building a team. It can work well, but a lot of it can go wrong. And for a lot of service-based business partners are usually not necessary as well. And for e-com businesses, it can make sense, of course, but it's also not necessary if you already brought your business from the ground up. For the differences for heavy done-for-you services like agency services, because depending on your personality color, skill, zone of genius, it can make sense to find someone and combine powers, right? Because sometimes you just struggle alone. It might be better to have someone to complement you. And so even if you already have a bigger team, it can make sense to merge with another founder, because that complements what you are missing in your done-for-you business. Okay, instead of building it from scratch, you can merge with someone who matches exactly that color that you are missing and has that expertise. And so let me give you an example. So let's say you're a visionary type of founder, you're great at communication, sales, marketing, creative, and bringing in new business is no problem for you. We had clients like this, right? They were more yellow, orange, red. But what then they have problems in the operations because they promise a lot, but they have difficulty fulfilling it. And let's say your product is very tech heavy, very important product. Then what you could do is you could either hire a head of operations, almost like a CTO, that is mostly blue, purplish, is great at tech, a typical integrator, operations, processes, service delivery systems. Or you bring in a co-founder who has these qualities. And that depends a little bit on your business plan and how much your margin you want to give away. And another example would be merging with another agency that has a founder that is complementary and already brings the whole team on board instead of hiring them. There might be an agency out there where they are lacking this skill because they would be great at bringing their clients results, but the founder is blue introverted, he doesn't go the extra mile to bring in business. The person doesn't like doing sales calls, marketing, posting content, he rather gets the client results. And that would be the perfect match for the yellow, orange, red visionary who loves sales. And then while both could struggle on their own, the one struggling to get the client's results because he overpromises has too many clients, and the other one struggling to get the clients because he's not good at sales, but is good at fulfilling them, then they both struggle with their own agencies while they could just struggle combine powers instead of struggling on their own and getting nowhere. Super important concept to realize. I think a lot of agencies out there would be better off if they combine powers with someone and understanding, first of all, their strengths. And doing that, especially for agencies who done for you type of services. Okay, so this is how you analyze this. And then let's jump into a few general hiring considerations. The next one is all about remote versus in office. We have a few examples. If you still have to make that decision, if you thought about, hey, should we be remote, should we be in office? Here are the pros of the remote. And here are the cons of remote, right? Usually a pro of remote is that you can hire more talent. You're not limited to your local talent. Remote team is usually cheaper. You're not paying for office. But the con is that you have less control. It's more difficult to build culture, and you need to build more effort to train and manage people, their productivity, the separation of business and personal. So here's a bigger overview you can go through to see that. And then the pros of in office are usually the exact opposites, of course. Here, better culture, better connection, better separation, better company brand and kind of identification with the company. And the cons, of course, are it's more expensive and you're more limited to local talent and you have more sick days. Okay, so it depends a little bit on your company. You cannot generalize it. Some companies, they swear by it. By either one of them, they say in office, I would never get rid of it. You need to have a proper company and stuff like that, even though you don't need to have an office to have a proper company. But people say that and they would never get rid of it. And then there are companies, they've always been remote and want to keep it that way. And then there are companies, they were in office, then because of COVID went remote and never want to get back and they love it. And then even the other way around, that some companies, they were remote and they were in office and they love that more. So it really depends. So there's statistics I learned that A lot of remote is becoming more popular. More and more employees want that. And then more in-office companies offer a hybrid to meet the trend that they're doing both. And the question you should ask yourself also, what business strategy do you have and what culture are you trying to create? Because if you have a sales team heavy culture and you're in a local market only, it makes only sense to actually have that killer sales team in office for team spirit and training, right? It can be much smarter. But on the other hand, it's usually easier to start remote and then go in office than the other way around, okay? Because remote is like easier, you don't need an office to rent and it's less strategic decision and so on. And so for in-office, it should be part of your long-term strategy, not just it looks cool, otherwise I don't have a business, need to control the team. If you want to build a strong company and brand at this location and you dedicate to long-term leases, then you can do it and you can negotiate also agreements there, okay? So more of that in the whole SOP. And then this is something about legal, the pros of hiring as a contractor versus hiring as full-time. There's a few things that depends on the US and your legal. We have some more requirements in there. I'm not going to go into much depth in here. You can read through that in the full SOP, what the pros and the cons are. Usually contractor is cheaper, but it's less attractive for the team member. And if you hire someone as a full-time employee, it's of course more attractive for the person. It makes your position more attractive, but it's also more expensive for you. And so it depends usually on the role and skill level, because for assistants and freelancers, hiring them through platforms like Upwork is enough, and then it's a contractor. And the more high skilled the role is, the more it makes sense that this person is fully dedicated to you as even a full-time employee. And it depends also on your country of your business and the country of the team members. Of course, always check with lawyers. But one thing I think some people don't know is that with tools like remote.com, if you're remote and you want to hire someone as a full-time team member, so let's say you're in the UK and the person is in Germany, then you can have this person hire the person with their German limited or their German GmbH, and they hire the person locally just as a normal full-time employee, and then you pay remote.com a service and have full control of the relationship. And so this makes your job offer more attractive, and it's just some extra costs. Sometimes you want to hire full-time people and they say, hey, I need a full-time contract to get a loan or for insurances and things like that. And if you just give them a contract, it wouldn't be enough, and then they would turn down the offer. And so you would do something like this, that you hire them through a third party. They have a full-time contract, you're in control of the relationship, and everybody's happy, right? And so then if you hire them as contractors, however, you just treat them as full-time employee and give them that feeling, give them even some benefits. You just need to be careful with the wording of this in the contract. The rest is then usually on a goodwill basis, okay? Apart from these requirements, the final thing I want to show you here is what to pay and how. So an interesting thing is to use Glassdoor.com and get salary averages for experience level, your location, your industry, also attention to title, and attention to that, because the title you're giving largely will depend the salary expectation. If you say someone is an operations manager, it's a different title expectation than if you say chief operations officer, right? Obviously totally different operation. And that then goes from operations officer to head of operations to operations manager to operations assistant and so on. Then how to pay, or first of all, basically in the screening form, another thing is that you can ask there about salary expectations as well, and then you get a more better feel of what the industry is expecting depending on the skill level. So with those three, you can then of course get a good range here. And then how to pay there for assistants, it's good to use platforms like Upwork or tools like Hubstaff, and then there are payroll tools like Deal or Gusto or anything simpler. And at the beginning, you can even set up simple back transfers, and it depends on your accounting requirements. All right. So this is a lot of the general hiring considerations. We talked about business partners. We talked about analyzing your team. We talked about positions and examples, how to decide which position, the structure, and how to go ahead. So this is a big type of work you do once at the beginning, but this will help you a lot to actually decide who to hire and when for which key position. All right, the next step is then deciding on the ideal candidate. So basically now you decided, okay, which position you need next. We talked about the hiring roadmap, who to hire next. We talked about in-office, all of that. So you have more clarity on all of that. Now you want to decide, okay, who is the ideal candidate I need for the position. Let's say you need an account manager, right? Or you need an operations person. In order to go ahead, okay, who would I need in that role? So you want to understand, first of all, okay, how does the role look like specifically? How does success in the role look like? And how would then the ideal candidate for the role look like? The first thing you're going to do is decide on personality color. We have a whole separate training, so I'm not going to go into much depth in this here. Again, YouTube, we have that already uploaded. You need to understand what color your personality is and has, what are they driven by. And then basically here we have more in detail the differences between the colors, what that stands for on a good day, on a bad day. And then we have in here the whole full training on this linked and give you here examples, right? So if for sales, you want to have usually someone red. For operations, usually someone blue. For more creative positions, more someone yellow, orange. And for HR, you want to have more usually someone green. That's a very simple way to think about it. And the explanation of why is explained here in the training. And then usually most of us have two colors, rarely just one or three. And then sometimes it's a combination of both. And here we give examples. For example, sales managers can be great to have red, blue. Account managers can be great for blue-green. And so these are different trends. And then, of course, depending what you're looking for, we have recommendations what colors to look for. So the idea is, once the colors, now what? Well, you will use this model to screen in the hiring process. You adapt the language for who you're screening for, because the right words will appeal to different people. If I talk a lot about competition, if I talk a lot about crushing it, competition, success, making money, this is much more interesting for red people than if I talk about, have a fair, equal environment, we're compassionate, we care about equality in our workplace. This is attracting a different type of people, more green people, than people who are just very competition oriented. This is very typical where salespeople who love to hit their KPI, hit their quota, where you would talk about stuff like that. And this is more for people that are great with people and relationships and HR and things like that, right? So very different type of words being used to attract different and appeal to different type of people. Very interesting to understand that. And then you screen for the color quickly in the application form below. We'll show you that as well. And then go ahead and screen the color with the questions in the initial screening and longer second interview. So you screen in the application form, in the interview, and then you even talk about it in a test task as required as well. Then the question is always, what about other personality tests? The DISC is usually what we recommend because it's very simple and to screen just by talking about colors. So this is basically the DISC, dominant, influencing, stabilizing, cautious. And as you can see, the DISC is what is represented in the color compass, right? Dominant is here, influencing is here, stable is here, and blue is here, right? So this is the DISC, and this is just in more detail in the motive compass, but it's the same concept. And so this is usually enough to screen the right colors. But then other tests to get more into detail would be the 16 personalities test. Really good one. I really like it. But it's a bit more complicated and a bit more nuanced. There is a match with the DISC test. But if you're not really familiar with it, I usually recommend skipping it, because if you don't know about the personality tests, then they might do more harm than good, because you're confused, what does it mean now and all of that. And so there's an overview here, and also we have even how the colors match up with the 16 personalities letters. If you're interested in this, we can go deeper into that if you have any questions on it. But the idea is also that you need to be careful. There's also the Principles U test by Ray Dalio, also very in-depth. But I only recommend if these tools or you want to get more familiar with them. Because why? Sometimes people tend to fake their answers, especially if you try to do that before a job interview, depending on what they think they should be. Then they're like, oh yeah, I'm being hired here for this person. I think I need to be more competitive. And then you say, yeah, I'm very competitive always. And then it's like they're faking it, and then the results get all messed up. And yeah, this is not the best. And that's why these tools can be very helpful after the hiring process, when there is less pressure and for self-awareness development and training. And so we recommend a rough screening with the color compass without the applicant having to do any test, but just asking smart questions explained further in the training. And then you can screen for this yourself. And the biggest screening will be not only that, but it will also be the other areas like skill, experience, and also how they behave on the interviews and their past experiences and so on. Okay, so this is about personality traits. For some roles, it might make sense to use 16 personalities, but it makes more sense to actually get more knowledge around it before you use it. Then, after you have decided on the ideal personality, you create a scorecard. And so a scorecard is basically a setup of the outcomes and competencies you need, so you can define what a player's success would be in the role. It has 5 parts: mission, KPIs, outcomes, responsibilities, and competencies, and will be then part of a larger job description. Here we have some templates, and we have templates for different types of positions. So I'm not going to go into all of them, but we have for any type of position you could think about, we have templates: graphic designer, content manager, account manager, cold email, or COO, all types of stuff. And the sections of the scorecard are this. You have a mission first that explains what you do. So here we have for specific things. For appointment setter, it's just bringing a constant stream of qualified appointments to our calendar. So it's kind of, what's your one job, right? You like this kind of, you just had one job, right? There's nothing else I asked you to do. Like, what's their one job, their mission, the one thing they have to do? He explains it in one sentence, okay? Then what's the main success KPI? So short bullets. Hey, for appointment setters, they are measured by how many appointments they're booking per week, the show-up rate, and then in general how many new clients per month and the revenue that they're responsible for. And you can have that same for account managers, for example, for COOs, for all types of roles. And then in the third part, you talk about the outcomes. So what are they responsible for? That is basically the KPI above in more details. So basically you say, like, you list this to scare B or C players away, because you specifically say, hey, we want you to achieve this outcome. For example, you say, hey, for an appointment setter, we want you to book 10 qualified calls every week. You book 3 calls per day, and we want you that you're responsible, with all the math adding up, to generate 1.5 million in new revenue end of year. Now, do you see how that scares people away who feel like, oh man, I'm not good in this position, right? Who actually want to have people who are like, yes, I have experience, I can absolutely do it, I love the math, let's get it. And that is like super important, that you attract people who are confident in their role, and it's a big difference if you focus on these outcomes. So most jobs, they don't do that, and that's why it's not good. For some positions, like assistant positions, it's not so easy to measure the outcomes, but at least you want to make sure the main success KPI are clear and you emphasize the responsibilities. Then the key is that everybody knows what they'll be judged on, and you have a game plan for everybody. So the more numbers and the more things you can measure, the better, okay? This is examples for account managers. We have all of these in place. Even for COOs who has more stuff on his plate, even there it's important. We have a lot of examples for all of them. Again, as I said, we have complete scorecards for all of these in here. All right. Once you have that in place and these examples, then it's important to understand what are the responsibilities they have to achieve the outcomes. What do they need to do on a daily basis? Calling the opt-ins on the phone, triaging, tracking leads, attending sales meetings. They understand what's expected of them, because ideally, of course, you just say, I don't care what you do, just bring me the appointments, right? But there are some ideas that you say like, hey, no, we still want you to attend sales meetings. That's part of the responsibility. You need to track your data every day, right? So these are the things you want to directly state, so it's very clear. And then these are examples, for example, for other positions. And then from there, competencies. This is about ensuring behavioral fit to make sure that they can achieve the outcome. So what you want to have is, what traits do you look for? Usually we have a standard type of A-player traits we discussed before. These are usually traits for A-players you want to screen for. You put them in the job description, and then depending on the position, other types of traits you can just copy and use for your positions. And these are just to build a base. And then, of course, depending on the culture fit you're screening for, you would link your values. You would also put in traits in line with the color that you're looking for. For example, here we have examples for appointment setters, for COO, with more leadership skills are efficient, important, ability to hire A players. So the more leadership, the different types of competencies are necessary, and depending on the positions. Okay, so more examples are here. And so with that, once you have these 5 parts filled out, we have again templates for all of this here, then you are finished with your scorecard. You have a clear mission, you define the KPIs, you have outcomes that they need to achieve, and you have competencies that are necessary to get there. Okay, and then from there, you make sure that ensure alignment and communicate this new setup in your company, and step by step roll out the method to all of your roles. Okay, so once you have the scorecard, then what we do is, now you have clarity on exactly the position and what is required. And now we're going to turn this into a full role and job description. Okay, so basically we have a full template for this as well. You will see this when you see our job descriptions. And basically what we have for a full role description is this. You have a title. That is already important that you screen for you test different types of title. They attract different types of people. That's all explained in more detail here. Then you have an About Us section. This is more about the company. For example, in our company, we have like exactly explaining what we do, more about our clients, what we do, and in much detail, more about vision and vision, everything explained in here. Our values are linked. Then we have even a link to my, basically in my case, the CEO's profiles to connect as well. Okay, so this is basically one section about us that someone applies and they're like, okay, what about the company? What do these guys even do? In one sentence, what do you guys do? Then more about the clients and the mission, the vision, and then more to connect with the company and the brand. Okay, this is the About Us section. This is where you do company and culture overview and about the company. And then this one is the what you'll do section. This is where you include the scorecard itself. And then you talk about compensation, you talk about time commitment. Then you have this will be for you if section where you talk about any remaining points about experience, skills needed, any requirements in terms of location. Then you have a why join us section. This is why they should work for you. This is where you can sell the position. All of the stuff that you should be highlighting there, we have in here. Here have certain examples, what we have used in the past, developing into other positions, why they should work for you, and certain types here linked. So that's pretty epic. And then even optional, you could have a do not apply if section. And then at the end, you basically link it and link the application form where people can apply. Okay. And so keep in mind when creating the job description, there's more ideas you can do. You can make it a bit easier. There's more tools. You can adapt the language and the personality color that you're looking for to attract this personality color. There's more tips here for you. And create a template, that's key. Store your positions inside a hiring playbook and stay organized with your positions. We have here another example. Okay. With that setup, you have something that looks like this. So I can show you the template here. Here you'll put the title. Again, here's about us. We have complete template you could fill out for yourself. What you will do, you can fill out here the complete responsibilities, on-track earnings, compensation. This will be for you. Why join us? Benefits, interested, and here you put the form. Super nice template, very straightforward. This is a really dialed in template. And as I said before, you can tweak this a little bit in line with these points here. Here's how you can tweak it. The language, use less emojis, adapt the language used, and so on. With that, you can make this your own job description. You have a killer job description you can use for platforms like LinkedIn, but also link it on your website or send it to people and they have all the info and you're really looking like a dialed in company that has everything documented and where you're very clear the person that you're looking for. So we have this here's a setter example. We have that for all positions. And this, once you have this full role and job description, you're already attracting A players much more because it's clearly defined what you're looking for and you save yourself a lot of time. Okay. Once that is done, then what we're going to do is we're going to set up the application form. This is what we're going to link at the bottom of the job description. So we can send interested applicants this whole job description, the template I showed you here. And at the bottom of it is then an application form linked where they click on it and they just apply for it. And it's like a type form, a simple Google form where they apply and then fill out their data and answer a few questions to basically screen the applicant according to experience, skills, traits and attitude, and color personality. And there you can also talk about salary expectations, start date, why they want to work for you, time zone, how they got to know you, get their phone number, get their email, and then adapt the template. So we have a complete template here. So that's a complete template that we're using, and there will be your logo and all of that stuff. And then you put in the job description in more detail here. You will talk about what they sell the position a bit, what you're looking for. So far, so good. And then you screen them. There's typical example questions. How many years of experience do you have with this? What did you do in that position in the past? What were your last jobs? Where did you learn this? Your biggest achievements? How much about this industry, your level of English depends on the position. What do you think about that? So there's a lot of these questions, and in a nutshell, you can check the templates once you download this. The idea is you want to screen for value fit, for experience, and for their color personality, as we said before, okay? And so this is like experience questions, what they've done in the past, skills, where they've learned what they're doing, traits and attitude. It's more like questions. Hey, what do you hear when you think that? It's like this idea is called future-based values questions, which means that you think about, instead of asking them, hey, tell us, why are you a competitive person? You could also just say, hey, imagine this and this happens on a Friday in this and this situation. How would you react, right? Stuff like that. That's future-based values question, and that really lets you see what people would do in situations like that. And color personality is like also screening for certain types of words that they are using when they're filling it out. That gives you more of an information. And our trick is we also screen for the 4 colors and ask them about it inside the form. And that is usually a game changer, because you very quickly get an understanding of what color they are at. We put that actually in the application form. And then we ask them, what is your color and why? Giving them a picture of the motive compass, and that way we can screen much faster. So super powerful tool. Here's the whole template. You can create from this, and all the other stuff you will find in the template and in this training here. Then building the hiring machine. So this is now about, you have the application form, you have everything set up. Now it's about, where do we find the talent? Where do we get them? So let's dive into it. Sources and channels for finding talent. So we want to start recruiting with people who are familiar with our offer and our market and move outward. So you always want to start with any existing hiring pipeline, then go through referrals and network, then the client base, audience, and then broad social media and ads and job boards. This gives you the highest chance to find the most desirable recruits first and move outward. And the idea is here that you think about, they should be alignment triad. That's the idea, where we said culture fit, attitude, as well as skills and experience. And that way you start with this first, because the more they know you, your company culture, the more likely they are that to be a good fit. So start with existing hiring pipeline. Like we said, you should have a pipeline of people from past hiring rounds. You collect them in a talent pool. We have a talent pool template here. All of that is explained in the training in more detail here, that we have a talent pool. And then some positions, they might not a good fit now, but you get then back to them in the future. And that's why you store the most important info to them, and you reach out, hey, we have a position open up again. Are you still interested? Saves a lot of time, because you have screened these people before, and maybe it was just not a good time back then. You start with this first. Then referrals from your team. Ask your team, because they know your culture best. So they might have people that they know that is a good fit. Very good idea. Referrals from your clients, the same thing there. Ask them as well, because they know as well your company, your service, and so on, and they might know exactly who would be a good fit. Then referrals from your personal business network. Go through your messages, ask people. We have templates for all of that, and build relationships with talented people, even if you're not hiring right now, or even if not a good fit now. Then ask your existing audience, and this would be, if you already have personal branding, post on Instagram stories, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of that. Send a blast to your email list. We have templates for what you can send out here as well. Then use general social media. Now we're approaching people that are more likely don't know us yet in our business, or maybe slightly have heard about us. One key tool that we always use is LinkedIn promoted job post. Can be a very great source of candidates. You just set up a new post on LinkedIn. You simply copy paste the main info from what we created in the job description into the LinkedIn post. And at the end, you have a call to action where you link the application form. And that way, with promotion of the post, as a minimum is enough. That way you get more candidates. Know that not everybody is a good fit, of course. 80% or more are not a good fit, but it increases volume. Okay, very good approach we always use. Then poaching, this would be that you actually do direct outreach through LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So for more specialized roles like account manager, more senior positions, you would basically filter in Sales Navigator the person you're looking for, send them connection requests, and then reach out to them. You can have an HR assistant help you with that. Hey, we're hiring an account manager, we pay a referral fee. Who do that we could hire? And if they are account managers, right, and you ask them that questions, either they will say they want to apply themselves, they're unhappy in the position, or they know someone they can refer, or they're not interested, which is also fine. And that way you can approach from bigger companies, use Glassdoor for salary information, and often these companies are underpaid, and then you can find someone is unhappy in their position and you make them a better offer and they might be open to changing. Okay, so that's like a strategy you can use for more senior positions if there's people not happy at their position. So LinkedIn outreach, Sales Navigator. And then Facebook groups can also still be powerful for more specific positions, for appointment setters, closers, sales reps, also for digital marketing experts, media buyers, other roles. There's a lot of people out there who hang out in groups like that. And then you can use a strategy. We have done this before. Here got 40 comments, and we'd also post with more comments where you post like your position, you sell the position, what can be done, some of the benefits, and people should comment. And then more and more people are commenting. And then with all these people commenting, you then tell them, hey, send me a DM. And that way you get more reach on the post. So that's a super nice strategy. We have here a template you can use and adapt this for yourself. Okay, so Facebook groups can be very powerful. And then ask yourself, where else do your ideal team members hang out? It's similar like where your customers hang out. You want to ask yourself, where do ideal team members hang out? And so think about it. There are dedicated Slack workspaces, dedicated Discord communities nowadays. There's free e-com communities, paid and free, ad buyer communities, right? School groups, Twitter for creative communities. There's even dedicated pages or forums for specific type of posts, jobs. There's YouTube jobs for episodes and YouTube experts. So think about it like this. For depending who you're looking for, there is dedicated groups that even have job boards, and they're usually more specialist type of people. This can be another great tool to make posts there. And then what you do is you link your application form that we set up, and you can encourage people to apply there and screen for that. And then finally, use job boards and portals. Similar to LinkedIn, Indeed, and similar platforms can be great. Basically, you adapted Notion job posts that I showed you the template to the platform. You link the application form at the end, and then you can use paid promotion as well. Then there's a software tool called Recruity where you can basically handle the hiring process more easily. It's a nice tool, and you can more seamlessly post on many free and paid portals at the same time. You get more volume, but it's also more expensive. So it depends a bit what your hiring requirements are, how many people you need. If you have the money for it and you're hiring heavily, then you can do it. If you just don't need one person and you're just starting with it, you probably don't need that, okay? If you want to streamline it, it can make sense. And then also don't forget Upwork is more known as a freelancer platform, but it can also be good to sometimes find full-time positions there and then turn them into a dedicated team member of your company. Just communicate this in the job post. So this is like the platforms for where to find people. And then there's, of course, another third option that most people forget is basically hiring through ads. And like this is literally like you try to get clients by running, for example, Meta or YouTube ads. You can do the same thing for getting talent. And so the key is you need volume. That's something we learned now, right? The thing is, here depends a little bit. How many people do you have in your network? Do you have a network? Do you have a personal brand? Do you have an audience, right? So then that depends already how many you can hire from there. And then, of course, we have Facebook groups and we have like where people hang out, job boards, LinkedIn. That itself should already give you good volume. But sometimes you need even more volume, right? Because again, to be really strict and be able to be picky, you need enough abundance and volume. And for that, of course, you can do paid promotion, like we said on LinkedIn and Indeed. But the other thing is just run freaking ads. It's like run ads to your application form and let the algorithms of Meta or YouTube ads, whatever you want to do, bring you the candidates. And so that can be Twitter ads or YouTube ads as well. And the advantage is you set this up one time and then you have a hiring funnel where you have creatives and you click a button and then the ads are running and more applicants are coming in. This is so powerful, and you get as much volume as basically you need or you want to pay for. And of course, the disadvantage would be that the quality can vary. Sometimes on LinkedIn, we have found the quality of people is slightly higher, but it depends a little bit on the position and how you communicate the position, how well you do your targeting through the hiring ad. And in general, it's the same game, that it's a volume game, that a lot of people are not a fit simply. You can delete them immediately, but you have some people that come through that are a good fit, and that's good. And of course, it's just more expensive than organic methods. So if you have the money, you need people, consider that. If you hire for a position where you tested the other methods and you haven't found enough volume of candidates or simply not enough good talent, then definitely add ads on top of that. We have here full instruction on how to do it. You need a meta manager. We have the campaign set up. We have actually this in more depth in a training video inside our module portal where I explain this. But the idea is simply you set up the campaign, the targeting, creating the ad copy, making sure it's in line with the color personality that you want to attract, using the right words for it. Then you upload ad creatives. We have like some simple Canva templates for this as well. And then you adjust the final settings. I show more of that in our internal training on how to run these hiring ads. But just keep in mind, it's not a super difficult thing to do, and it's going to be super powerful. Now, which method is the best one? It depends a little bit on the budget and time you have. If you have an assistant, they can take over some of the manual posting. And if you have more money than time, then use paid options to get more volume and do it faster. Since it's a skill, I would use all methods to basically figure out which works best for the candidates you want to hire. And you learn a lot from this. Okay, hiring is such an important concept. And yeah, what can be expected in terms of candidate volume? It can then go anywhere from 20 to 1,000 people. There's no right number. And usually a lot of candidates can be rejected straight away. So use different funnels or channels. You need enough candidate flow, and then test different types of titles and different types of people, different career stages. Okay. Once you've set that one up, then we're going already now to the screening and the interview process. And this is fantastic. So now you get applications, right? They are applying through the form that you have there. And then what you do with the screening process is this. So you have the ad, they redirect to the application form, they're filling out the application form, then you get the application in your software and as an email, so in jot form, type form, and as an email, and then you want to screen the application. So what do? You can just screen that with Google Sheets or inside the emails, and they are recorded in a spreadsheet, and use the disk system and the scorecard to screen applications. Who should do that? Usually it's best if you have an HR assistant, you can train them, otherwise you do it yourself. How to screen? You basically export all the applications as an Excel report, and you do just delete the ones which are bad fit, and then the green ones you can reach out, and yellow is just a backup. You can just use Gmail for organization or use a sheet export. Some of these tools, they have that inside the tool already. What to screen for? Skills, experience, personality, color, culture fit, future-based values questions, attitude and application, door owners, typos, effort, score, and scorecard. So basically, you have questions about this. We show this in the template. You have questions about this. You can also see that immediately on the answer. The culture answers they have, how they answer these questions. Also, the attitude, that's the idea of like, do they put effort into it, or is it like both extremes can be bad? Some people nowadays, they just use ChatGPT answers. Super long, super weird language that nobody would use, ChatGPT style, no effort basically. And other people, they just fill out nothing, just manual and like 2 words and no effort at all. So see that, are there typos? And then also, if you look at the scorecard, are they matching the things you're looking for in terms of skill, in terms of starting date? Look at other things like salary expectations and so on. Then what to do after screening depends a bit on what role you're hiring for. For communication heavy roles, we always like to use a screening video, and otherwise you can just have the assistant call them directly on the phone and go into the screening interview as we're showing the interview process. Okay, so let's go into the interview process. It's very important that you understand, hey, you need to look at the scorecard and what they have achieved in the past, and that's why we have the following process. So first of all, slightly tweak your interview and hiring process depending on, are you hiring for a skill position or more like a communication heavy position? Okay, so I'll show you in a second what that means. By the way, we have the full questions in the whole interview database here with all the templates of what I'll show you here inside. So you can just have all the questions to ask. Everything is in here, right? So you have that in here. And then part 1 is the screening interview. You call the person on the phone, the HR assistant or the founder. The goal is that you screen out people depending on culture. Before the call, you go through the scorecard. Here's what you can say on the interview. Then here's what you ask. These are the top 6 questions. This is from Who, the A Method of Hiring. Fantastic book. A-player hiring system, super good. What are your career goals, values, culture? What are you really good at, what you're not good at, and what the 3 bosses would say to them when we talk to them. Super powerful question. Our client loved that one. So when you tell them, hey, so your last 3 bosses, when we will talk to them, how will they rate your performance on a scale of 1 to 10? This really will make it honest, because they understand, they might call my previous boss and ask for references. So I rather say I'm honest here how they would rate myself, right? So you can go in more detail about the importance of all of these questions here in the training and why they are so important. But that way you have a 15-20 minute interview, you screen very fast, okay? What to pay attention to for each of the questions, what to pay attention to and why it's important to ask them. And we've documented all of that. During the call, use the what, how, tell me more method to really drill deeper. If you don't like what they're saying, once you realize they're not a culture fit at all, you can end the call and move forward. And if you have a strong match, you can also do some more time and give some chance at the end for them to ask questions as well. After the call, you ask yourself, is this person a value or culture match? Are the weaknesses manageable? Do I want to bring this person into a set of more interviews? And does the person's strength match my scorecard? Here's about hire the specialist, some more insights about that. And you want to have the person where you feel like, this person could be a great fit, and you feel actually excited about moving them forward, okay? And then you want to have 3 to 6 candidates at least. You can have some interviews, and then here's the whole template and the whole questions to ask for you again. Now, once you do the screening interview, there is a next step actually, and the next step would be that you could do, depending on your position, you could instead do group interviews. So what we have found, that when you hire for example, for sales positions, appointment setters, group interviews are very nice because you can screen more people at the same time. Here's how you do these group interviews, and you can compare people to each other. Really nice framework. So we basically have all the questions to ask there. That saves yourself more time, and then you basically identify very quickly who are the top people in there, and they can move them into a one-on-one call afterwards. Okay, so group interviews is optional depending on the position. Another thing is also test tasks and paid projects. So group interviews is more for communication based roles, where it's really about how are they presenting themselves on the call, how they're talking. And test task is more about skill based roles, right, where you really need to see, you don't care so much if you hire a media buyer and the person is just internal. It's less important, maybe they don't talk to clients, and it's less important how they talk. It's more important, do they have the skill? Are they paying attention to detail, for example? And then you can send them a test task that can be done with a Google Drive folder with instructions inside, and you send them material. So for the start, a test task, homework that's unpaid in this short one can be done. And later in the hiring process, you can then have a paid test project that's much more detailed. And you're basically screening there for attention to detail, language, action, creativity, technical know-how, execution, and problem solving. Okay, so for more senior positions and for more important skill, the more likely it is that you do a test task, and then depending on how important the position is, earlier or later in the hiring process, and then have it for free or have it as a paid test task. Okay, then after that, so this is all for screening at the beginning, and then once you find people who do well here, then you get them into the who interview. Basically, this is how you set the stage. We have the whole scripts for this, and then these are the questions you ask in that interview. You go through the last positions they were in. You talk about what you were hired, what accomplishments they're most proud of, what were the low points, who did you work with, and then talk about how it was like working with their colleagues or boss and so on. This will make sure you get an understanding how they performed in similar roles and why did they leave the job. Very important. This gives you a lot of insight into candidates. And so here's what you should pay attention to for each question and what is important and why it's important to ask those questions. And then here's the strategies to use for during the call, interrupting, push and pull, the 3 Ps, and so on. And then you can combine this with the focus interview. This is basically where you then go over the outcomes of the scorecard. You go over the scorecards itself and you basically show them, hey, what were your biggest accomplishments when it comes to that skill? You need to hit these outcomes, what mistakes and lessons did you learn in this area, and you double check culture fit. So the who interview is all about their past positions, who is this person, and then the focus interview focuses on the scorecard and the future position where you focus on that one. So this is like past experience confirms if they're an A player, have they achieved outcomes and so on, and then the focus interview confirms if they have the skills necessary. Okay, and then from there the second part is you clarify offer and logistics. This is already then on the final interview. If you feel like you have a good feeling, you can already talk about the offer and what salary would work for them, or make them and tell them, hey, this is what we would offer you if we were to hire you, is that fine? And so you can directly agree on this, and then it's not a negotiation after. And then you can check for any administrative topics, have them answer any questions, and then sell the position well, right? So that they're also excited coming on board. And then this is how you end the interview. And then the final step afterwards is, especially for higher positions, reference interview. So the goal is you need to use references. Don't skip that. Don't use the list that the candidate gives you, but instead ask the candidate to contact the references to set up the call. So you say, hey, I know you worked with this person, that position. I want to have an interview, or I want to talk to that person. Could you please help me set up the contact? Okay. If they don't want to do it, then it's a red flag. Why would they hide it? And if they help you with it and you talk to them, then you get really the context. So here are the questions to ask to the references. So we have the whole hiring process for this as well. And this will make sure to confirm. So we found with a lot of people, customers in our leadership coaching, that they say, oh, they thought they had a good feeling sometimes about candidates at the reference interview, and it was crazy what they found out. People were lying and all of that stuff. So this is a powerful thing. Don't skip that. So everything in here, the template as well. Once you've done it, you decide who to hire. Here again, who's an A player? The red flag checklist, here you want to make sure they avoid these things. You can go through that. Warning signs for behavior, definitely go through that, make sure to avoid those. Then you have a decision checklist that's based on the scorecard. The more they tick off the boxes in the scorecard, the better. We have here email templates, how you can send rejections, invitations, all of that in here as well to send out afterwards. And then finally you make an offer to the right candidate. You can do a quick call or send an offer email, or you send them an offer only and have an offer email. And then we send basically all the details of the offer. And then the more premium and the more branded you send that out, the more it reinforces them making a good decision, right? And then you close them either on the call, selling it well, even more if necessary, and otherwise get it signed and make them the offer, okay? So that's pretty much in a nutshell the whole system. So that was a very long training. We have even more detail inside the whole process SOP in here. So if you want that, comment below full process and we'll make sure to send it over, or we'll send you a link where you can just download it. So comment below if that was helpful and you want that, because I couldn't go through all of it in detail because it's a very in-depth training. It's literally everything you need about hiring, okay? And so if you want more resources like this, we have a complete resource library. Check that here with more resources like this. We have more resources. We have a free community for agency e-com founders here. Listen to our podcast where we upload episodes like this. How do we know that this works? So this is basically, like I said before, we work with a lot of other clients to help them achieve this. Check more for our case studies here. And if you want to get help with your hiring process, right? Especially if you want to scale your agency or e-com brand to those 7 figures or even 8 figures and cut your time in ops in half, make sure everything runs like a well-oiled machine, then we can help you scale by getting more high quality leads and sales, optimizing your offer, building a predictable in-house acquisition system, get rid of low leverage operational tasks, optimize your operations, your processes, and build that elite A player team that we just talked about, and make sure the ones you have are performing even better, and make sure we make sure the productivity of yourself as the founder, your leadership team, and your team in general is optimized and as well. So if you want to have help with that, then here click learn more about what we do and how it works. You will find all the details here. Here's some of our clients that we've worked with. And then from here, for more SOPs, check the library here. Here's a video around how we helped others. And you can book your game plan session here by going to my website, where you also find all the other information. Other than that, here, connect with me on these platforms to stay in touch. And then I'm looking forward to seeing you on our game plan session. And I hope that was valuable for you. Apply for your call here. And other than that, all the good stuff, leave a thumbs up, a comment, and subscribe to this channel if it was helpful. And then I'll see you on the next video and on our call here. Peace out.